Hello and welcome to Deep Blue Sea, the podcast. I am Mark. Why can't I get more than 50,000 views? Hoffmeyer.
I am Jay, snake in your suit, Cluet. Welcome you to Deep Blue Sea, the podcast. On this show, Mark and I have been through the entire Deep Blue Sea trilogy, scene by scene. Now looking at some Deep Blue Sea adjacent films. That's films directed by Rennie Harland, featuring sharks for aquatic action. This is our Halloween episode. Has the episode been released just before Halloween this year? So we're going for a horror film. We're going for The Deep House. It's aquatic horror. What is The Deep House? Well, it's a 2021 film. It's an underwater haunted house film. Basically, there's a couple.
Yeah.
There's Ben and Tina, played by James Jagger and Camille Rowe, who are led to this secret. They're like adrenaline hunters that go for haunted houses all over the place, and they hear the rumors of there's this haunted lake, and they go there. It's a big tourist trap. And they're all disappointed, but they find Pierre, Eric Savé, who takes them to the super secret part of the lake where, if you go down deep, you'll find a perfectly preserved house, and they do, and hilarity ensues. So this I think you put this film on my radar, Mark. I'd never heard of this until like about a year ago. You mentioned it. You seem to love this film.
There's a Savage Garden song, and in that song, they're like, "I knew I loved you before I met you," and I knew I loved The Deep House before I watched it because it's a underwater haunted house film by the people who directed Inside, the insane French horror film, body horror film. And just reading about this movie, like they it was all underwater sets. The budget was supposed to be $1 million, but COVID pushed it up to 5 million euros. I mean, they got the guy who shot Beyonce's Running video underwater, Jack Ballard. Like, they built these sets, and I love this movie because it's plot light, right?
It's 81 minutes long.
Yeah. Even the haunting section is not really explained, but it's a highly experimental movie. And they filmed like everything's perfectly preserved because it's haunted. And it's just a lot of fun to watch. But for me, like, just researching this movie, I'm like, these bastards really shot underwater. Like, that's what made me happy. Like, they built a house, the interiors, they sunk it, and yeah, and it works, and it's fun, and it has deep in the title, and it's underwater, and it's an underwater haunted house. It's lovely.
I mean, I hadn't heard great things about it other than from you, so I kind of went in like, we'll do this. But it's surprisingly tense. I was gripped. The characters are terrible. There's barely characters on it. Like, you hate Ben immediately.
Yeah, Ben.
He's just a dick.
Like, he's with Tina. She clearly loves him. She puts up with all of his crap, and he's like, I need more than 50,000 views, and he's just such a wiener.
He thinks he's better than everyone else who's doing the exact same thing as him.
Yeah.
It's what was it? His line, like, every dickhead with a GoPro's down there. It's like, dude, you're there with a camera. You're doing the same thing.
Yeah. He's the kind of guy that has a podcast, and he's 3 episodes deep into his podcast, and he's wondering why he's not number 1 on iTunes.
Yeah.
Like,
they're going to get married in Vegas when they hit 1 million views. Like, okay.
And like, Tina's cool as hell, but like, she's just sort of does what he wants. She lies about how long she can hold her breath. She goes on all of his stupid adventures, and when they're underwater, she's like, we should go. And he's like, well, okay, I promise we'll go. Let's go further. Okay, 2 more minutes.
The line, I'll be right back. When she says, I don't like this, and he replies, I don't like this. I love it. I was throwing rocks at the screen. It's like, no, drown.
Like, the characters are not important. That sounds bad. But when you're shooting a movie underwater, it's just like, it's an underwater haunted house movie about like, it's about a bunch of serial killers who killed children. They were locked into their home. A crucifix is put over a door. They're locked in. And then somehow their son is still kicking about and sending people to the bottom of the lake. And it's so
the
plot
lake is
light.
there. The lake was artificially formed to prevent flooding. So just their house just happened to be in this area that had to be artificially flooded. Okay, fine. So I don't quite get why the house is preserved. Just because it's like these 2 corpses are chained up above a pentagram, kind of thing. So that's doing something, I guess. It doesn't really go into it. It doesn't need to. Like you have these two people that go down there, and there's ghosts. And they look like they're dead. They take them out. They have these like plague masks on. They take the masks off, and they come to life, and they're chasing them. That's it's some fun spooky stuff, and I had a good time with it. And it is like incredible how they made it because like it's bad enough making a low budget horror film, then just do everything underwater. That's it's a nightmare.
And they said they made it 40 times as hard. I love Alexandre, Bustillo, and Julien Maury, but you can tell this is a film that came from an idea when they were walking, which is what they said. They're like, hey, I like underwater photography. Hey, I like haunted houses. And then they gave each other a high five. The world shook. They wrote
They
four
drove
sentences
their
down.
chocolate and peanut butter trucks into each other.
and, then, and then they just kind of said, hey, let's make this movie. And then everyone's like, yeah, sure. That sounds great. Underwater haunted house.
It's like Deep Blue Sea with Rennie being like, I want to have sharks in the bedroom and in the kitchen. I want sharks in new places. They're just like, hey, ghosts under the water. Let's do it.
If I'm an executive at Blumhouse or whatever, and I'm just hanging out, and the two people who directed Inside come up to me and they're like, we want to make an underwater haunted house movie for $1 million. I'll be like, go, run.
Don't look back.
Film it now.
Just keep going.
Don't look back. Like what underwater haunted house? Like that's like Jay, you and I are in an elevator.
Okay.
We're both looking at the kind of the door, and I just turn my head and look at you and go underwater haunted house. You're just gonna give me a nod.
I just throw you my wallet. Like here you go. Just what do you? How can I? What do you need? How can I help?
I'm double kickstart. I'm giving it a triple kickstart.
I don't have $1 million, but I can give you like £62. I
Yeah,
can probably spare that. Like, if that helps.
Here's everything I have in my pocket, plus the maximum of what I can withdraw from an ATM without seeming like I'm being robbed.
Come back again tomorrow. I'll do the same thing.
But just reading about this movie and just the Brussels sprouts that they put in there, and what's what I love. There's that movie Apocalypto. Mm-hmm. There's a scene where the underwater birth scene where a woman's giving birth to a child, and it's inside of a muddy pit, but the water's perfectly clean because they filmed it inside a tank. Sure. And you clearly can't have a mud pit to shoot in. And so you're like, this is really clean water. But in this one, it's really clean water because it's like, oh, well, I guess this 60-year-old home or this whatever-year-old home is totally fine because it's in fresh water. I'm like, it's like, but it's all magical.
As a car, this car is perfectly preserved because it's in lake water. And Ben's like, oh, it's a Rover P6. It's made in England. And her reply is, so is blood sausage. And I got to, like, black pudding, as it's known here, is delicious. People should stop complaining. It's sausage with blood in it. Who cares? It's tasty.
Very good. And I was hoping one of the ghost demons would just be cruising around the lake in that thing because it was so well preserved. Like this movie just is like, listen, ghost stuff. That's why the water's so clear. We're in a lake. It's not gross. And this house is perfectly preserved.
And when they get into the house and they're going further into it, it gets proper murky. Like when they're going into the cellar, it's you can't see. That's why they have to send the drone in.
Yep.
Because they can't see anything.
If you want to play a drinking game, just drink every time take a shot every time Tina says, send in the drone.
Yep. Or anytime Ben says, like, it's fine, we'll be okay. There's no such thing as haunted house. Anything he says something like, let's split up. Any kind of horror cliche that's going to get him killed.
Oh, man. So Ben's the worst. Tina's cool.
Yeah.
Spoilers. We're just going to spoil it right now. The final shot of her not making the 3-minute swim and like dying in the water. It's suitably mean.
Yeah.
Then Pierre brings back 2 more ladies. But okay, Jay. They go into this house. They open up windows. They take down the crucifix. They tear up a lot of stuff in this house. Does Pierre go down there and put everything back?
I was wondering, did Pierre build the brick wall? When they go through a window and they come back and there's now bricks over it, were there actually bricks? Are they like ghost bricks? Did he come down and has he got like a little wall segment already built that he just kind of moved into position and bolted in place?
See, I thought that they locked them in. Like the people put the bricks so that people couldn't get out.
But the bricks weren't there when they went in. They went through a window.
Oh, yeah, that's true.
The bricks have been put in.
Oh, that Pierre. No, it's just the ghost.
Pierre.
It's the ghost neighbors coming out and putting up this.
Yeah.
It's all a bunch of hootenanny. This movie. But it's underwater.
It doesn't. It
Underwater
doesn't.
hootenanny.
The plot doesn't hold up to close scrutiny because, like, have they had people down there before? Because, yeah, we're going spoilers. Ben gets like converted and possessed to join them at some point before he gets unpossessed and stabbed. Right. So, has anybody who's been are Ben and Tina the first people that Pierre has managed to convince to go down there? I can't
No,
remember.
no,
No.
he keeps sending folks down there.
So, anyone who's been sent down before has been unsuccessfully possessed. Otherwise, they'd be down there too, or are they possessed and then eaten or something? Like, I don't know. I feel like people get possessed, get depossessed, they kill them. That's just the cycle that keeps on happening, and they haven't quite got it down yet.
Nobody
So,
thought about that, Jay. They just, I'm telling you, they were walking one night, they had some wine, they said underwater filming, haunted house, slapped hands, and then they realized how hard it was to film. And then once they realized how hard it was to film underwater, they just dropped the plot completely.
yeah, sure.
Because
So
COVID shut it down. They couldn't move as fast as they. I guarantee you, Jay, they couldn't film as much as they wanted.
it's supposed to be like a 2.5 hour film.
Yes, Killers
It's
of
an
the Deep
opus.
House. Yeah, and you know I love it though. But like these two, they love the scenes from like In Dreams. I don't know if you ever watched that movie by Neil Jordan. There's that great underwater scene. They love Inferno by Argento. So they just, I, you know, God bless them for this movie. I don't. You know what's interesting, Jay? If this was a regular haunted house movie about a pair of influencers, I probably would have turned it off.
We wouldn't be covering it on the show.
Yeah, but since it's underwater, I'm like, I don't care. This is great.
Yeah, this was
It's just,
difficult to make. We're going to respect this. We're going to watch it.
yeah. At least it's something different.
Yeah. So I just got back from a holiday in Scotland. We watched this the first week when we were just on an island, and because this was on Netflix and left Netflix, we had to watch it that first week. That second week, we stayed on a lock, like right on the edge of a lock that was dark. You could not see into it at all. And it turns out that the lock was the exact same depth as this one. It's Loch Venachar where we stayed. My wife watched this film with me. She doesn't like horror films. That was a mistake on my part, so she did not enjoy watching this. One night, I went out on the loch to go and see the sunset. It wasn't night when I went out, but it was night when I got back. Because the sunset and it got stupid dark really quickly, and I got lost. I didn't know where I was going. I couldn't see the house from the loch. Uh, After about an hour of me just paddling around, my wife messaged me saying, "Are you going back anytime soon?" I said, "Yes. Turn all the lights on in the house, please." So and she turned them all on, and she sent a message saying they're on. And just up in the distance, as she messaged that, all these lights came on in this house. I was like, great, perfect. So I headed to that. It was not our house. It was just
Oh.
pure fluke that someone else had turned all their lights on the moment I said, "Can you turn yours on?" And I just basically paddled my way back along the dock. It was pitch black completely. I had my phone, I had a torch on my phone. If I turned the torch on, I could see 3 feet in front of me. I could see like the tip of the paddleboard. If I turned it off, I could make out the surroundings a little bit. So I had to choose between either 3 feet or a vague notion of everything. And yeah, that's the scariest situation I've been in a while. And it was like a week after watching The Deep. I was like, oh, if I fall in, these ghosts are going to come up and get me, and I'm done. This 31-meter deep lock.
Oh my gosh.
It was a real like atmospheric, terrifying experience being on holiday.
I just you're thinking about Harry Potter, that water scene. You're thinking
Yeah.
about the deep house. That kayaking though that you took, that looked amazing, by the way.
Yeah, we had the dogs in the kayak. I didn't think they'd get in, and yeah, the little dog didn't like it. The big dog did. Second day went out, he jumped in on his own. He was like, "Let's go!" But the little dog Charlie, he just like climbed up on me whilst I'm rowing because he wanted to be out of there. He didn't want to be in the kayak. When he put his life jacket out, he ran away.
Yeah, when Jay goes on some very picturesque trips. I'm not saying you should stalk him, but I always look forward to your updates because they're very funny.
Just follow. My Instagram is my name JAYCLUITT. I only ever use it in September and October, basically.
So like when you're watching this movie, like what was your first thought? Like what was going through your head when you watched this? Like what's
Well, other than like I hate this Ben character, I want him to die miserably and painfully. When the scenes when they're going down into where the ghosts are and they're all chained up and with the masks on, it's so tense. Like, and then when
yeah.
when Tina gets like caught up in them, and it's starts like this whirlpool around her of chains and bodies, and I was like, what the hell is it's a genuinely frightening sequence. And then they just disappear, and it's creepy because like they have their drone with them, and the drone senses movement, but they can't see anything moving. And there's some sheets at one point where there's a body, like a outline behind it, but then there's nothing there. Now, like, ghost films don't really get me because I don't believe in ghosts. I don't think anything kind of supernatural. I'm like, nah, it's not really scary. But it's if it's tense, then I can appreciate tenseness, and this film plays the tenseness well.
Well, and adds a nice little twist to it because they're underwater.
Yeah,
And
because if the ghosts don't get them, they will eventually drown. Like,
that's like The Descent, where they get caved in, they're stuck in the tiniest, just they're spelunking and they're stuck in the tiniest cave system and just crawling and
yeah.
just getting smashed by rocks. That's scary enough as it is.
This
Then
situation
add
doesn't
in,
need demon creatures living under the mountain they're spelunking in. It doesn't need that, but they're there. Oh, everyone's screwed. This isn't
and
going to
then
end well.
the opening scene of I'll always remember this, but I have a buddy who watched it. He's like, Mark, I got this movie we got to watch. He's like, I watched it last night and I peed a little. Like that's how much the opening Descent creature of appearance shocked
Yeah,
him.
yeah,
And
yeah.
this is a guy who's watched everything. So I was like, oh wow, if you peed a little, I better, not drink anything
Put an
during the
nappy on.
movie.
Yeah.
Yeah. And- but no, you're right. Like when she gets caught up in the chains, when
Oh, when
just
he's when
watching
he's
her
under
get-
the bed, when he's under the bed and the
yeah,
feet are right next to the bed. It's like, ugh.
and just going up the chimney and I don't know. It's I found another quote because I really wanted to research this because I just had a feeling. So they were talking about we were very very lucky too because the next day we called Clement Misère and our producer. We told him, Clement, we have an idea. It's a concept now. We did not have a story, but just the idea of an underwater haunted house. He said, "Oh God, I love this idea. So let's go. We will do this now." And they wrote, we were so lucky because, finding money in France to make a horror movie is really complicated. So like in the U.S. it's easier, but in France it's just really hard to find funding. It's kind of totally dead. So it's like it's hard to find money to do a normal horror movie. And so he's like, you can imagine how complicated it was to find money to do an underwater horror movie. But the guy immediately went, yes, let's do it. So they didn't have a script. They didn't even have like a story. Yes. So
That's great.
that
I love
explains
that.
the movie, right? Yeah.
They're just like, how can we get people to go to the haunted house? I don't know. They like haunted houses, and they find out there's one underwater. Great, done.
So Jay, you told me a great story about how you were helping out you're doing some arborist work. You were taking branches and just
Yes,
doing Scottish Highland games with them to get them over a fence, and you were
from
just
my grandma. Yeah,
you were just lunging. You didn't look pretty when you were doing it. You just said you did everything you could to get those branches over that
yeah.
fence.
There was like a 8 or 9 foot tall like tree like bush hedge. That's the word. I had to chuck caber toss these tree branches over for a whole weekend basically, and my arms and legs were scratched and bruised a lot. They still are actually. It was a month ago. They're still scratched. They're taking a while to heal. It was a fun weekend.
But see, you didn't care how you got those things over. If
No.
people were looking at you and filming it, they're like, "Woof." But you just had to get those branches over. And I feel like that's what this movie was. They talked about how like everything was just really hard. Like they didn't have a system to talk to the actors underwater. They didn't really have too much of a like a system for anything. Like to get those underwater, to get the family under there, they found freedivers that could play the Montagnacs. And they had like two freedivers. They found an 11-year-old or 12-year-old girl who was a freediver to play the ghosts under there. So I think they're like, those are things you don't think about. Hey, we need ghosts. Oh wait, now we need to find world-class freedivers to play these ghosts. And then we need to figure out a system to get playback back to us. We need to figure out this, that, and the other. And it was just, I think this movie is them, but it's you throwing the
The
branches
trees.
over the thing. Like the end result was really hard, and I don't think they cared how they got over it, like the line. And so I think they lost like the story or the prettiness while just not trying to electrocute people
Yeah, I'm sure.
underwater because the logistics were tough. I know it's a weird example, Jay, but
Hey,
you
it
know,
works.
yeah, like when you're doing a really hard job and
Yeah.
you're not thinking about prettiness or like you're not
You just got to get
like
it done.
yeah, exactly.
You have an end goal, you have a time limit, you just got to get it done.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And like the evil really isn't explained. And then when Ben turns, like I tell you what though, man, I did like Tina. Like I think she's like the way that she drives the car, the way she puts up with Ben, she just seems pretty
Yeah.
cool.
He films her while she's peeing.
Yeah,
Like,
I yeah,
come
Ben,
on, man.
yeah, he's the worst.
But I mean, I don't think much of his acting, to be honest, either. I think
No.
it was kind of monotone. But then at the end of the film, he gets possessed, and he has to have this like malice in his voice. And I'm thinking, oh, was like everything prior to this a choice? Was he like intentionally? I'm being very generous. Was he like intentionally monotone just to have the contrast to him, like when it's at the end? It was like, you'll die before me. Was they just trying to have some kind of difference between the two? I don't know. Either way, I don't. I haven't seen him in anything else.
Do you know why I love Deadstream
I
so
don't know what
much?
Deadstream is.
Oh, that's one of my favorite horror movies released in like the last 5 years. It's about this YouTuber. He's a famous YouTuber who gets demonetized because of a scandal, and he goes to this haunted house to he's a like a famous one, like millions of followers, and he goes to this haunted house, and he's like, if I don't pursue something, if I don't go to something, this video will be demonetized. I will lose my sponsors. So every decision he makes, he's already popular, but every decision he makes is to kind of get the money. Like he needs money. And
Right.
so that's why he pursues it. That's why he goes after it. And it's very funny. And it makes sense though why he stays, why he went. Like it's a desperate act. He wants his followers back. He's, he was already a big personality, so it makes sense while they're there because, and you actually learn to really like the guy. But in this one with Ben, he's with Tina. She's super cool, and he's like, I only get 50,000 views. Like he's just such like I just it I guess it's part of the story that I don't really like
Yeah.
because I think there's ways like these two could just be adrenaline junkies or they could be really famous and people are like, "Hey y'all, don't go down there." And they're like, "We made our money by going places where people told us not to." Like you could have that ego, right? Or you could have Mythbusters or I don't know, but just having this guy be like a complete wannabe influencer, I just didn't like that story part of it, if
Yeah.
that makes sense.
They could have because they can play up the desperation of he has to go down here to he's desperate to get these views, but when he's down there, he's just kind of having fun with it. So I feel like
Yeah.
he shouldn't be annoyed he's not getting the views because he's doing something he likes doing. He's
Yeah.
like
And he seems to be totally doing just fine in the real world as well.
yeah, we don't know
This
about
seems
what
like
their
a hustle
we don't know what their financial situation is, but they can afford to be traveling across Europe.
with
So
very expensive gear.
yes, I mean, we open the film with like a cold open where they're going to this house in Ukraine, which
Hmm.
is haunted. Of some woman killed children, and that's like on land. But they also have a drone and diving gear and all this. Like, they're like adventurers who go underwater as well. Like none of that stuff's cheap.
No,
So
no.
like,
Like, so he's just doing this. He doesn't really need to have this account. He just wants to be famous, but he seems to be putting in the minimal work. It's
yeah,
just, I don't know. You and I have been podcasting for so many years, and like I've been writing for so many years. You've been writing for so many years. It's a process. Like,
yeah. I mean,
you don't.
I've never tried to make money off of any of this. This has always just been
Yeah.
a hobby for me. I know that you do. You make money. This is part of your career, part of your earnings,
Mhm.
which I'm envious of that. But I don't feel like it's anything I could ever. I don't like I if I whenever I've tried to write or whenever like it's been close to getting writing for money, I get so stressed.
Yeah.
Like with it oh it's just that's not I need a 9 to 5 that I can check out of at the end of the day and that's it.
You should watch me write my Ringer articles, Jay. I could live stream it and just make people stressed out with how stressed I am. But
It's a horror film in itself.
I've been doing it for 13 years though, Jay. Like I started writing my first terrible movie review 13 years ago. Like we know how long it takes to build an audience, and we have a wonderful Deep Blue Sea audience. Thank you for listening. And Jay, we were just we just did really well somewhere, everywhere. No, but we had her everywhere.
If you're listening right now, we love you. Thank you.
Yeah, and you could be listening to a billion other things, and you listen to us, so that's an honor right there. But you build it. It takes a while to build an audience. So just watching this guy going like, why don't I have more views? And listen, I get it. Like I know people who haven't released a podcast episode in 3 years, and then they release one. They're like, my numbers aren't great. You're like, bro.
Yeah, consistency. Come on.
Yeah, and you'll get there. Like just keep shooting, keep doing. That's what I tell my students all the time. But I don't know. I just wonder. Like I just why
he's annoying. He's irritating.
Yeah.
He was always gonna die, and he does. So good. I love those characters that they're always gonna die. Come on, let's get to it, but also let's enjoy it.
I was pretty surprised by Camille Rowe because she was a former model or current model who dabbled into acting, but she's good in it. She doesn't. I never would have thought that she was a model. I'm not saying models can just acting's hard though. You can't just become an actor. But yeah, she was a model who like kind of jumped into acting and dabbled in it. She does good here. I like her.
It doesn't work for everyone. It worked for Cameron Diaz. It didn't work as well for Astrid Burgess Frisbee, who we recently talked about on Pirates Fall.
Hey,
it works for some of brothers.
Jay, you guys just released that episode, and I'm gonna listen to it, but I dislike that movie so much that I don't want to give any more of my time to it. And so by listening to you two talk about it, I feel like I'm letting it win.
Well, it's maybe the most negative episode of this podcast has ever been.
Jay, when I learned how expensive that movie was and how bad it is, like it's not even a movie.
It is to date still the second most expensive film ever made. Only The Force Awakens is more expensive.
I was watching that movie and I felt like, so if I had a power bar near me, like it was drained by like 13 minutes in.
Yeah, it's so expensive, but there's so little in it. Like it's so much less in that film than any of the previous Pirates films that all cost less.
You know what you should watch? There's a time-lapse video of the building of the final set. And it's quite fascinating. I show my production design students it, but there's water involved. Hey, but actually it's Pirates of the Caribbean. There's a lot of water.
Yeah.
But it's
the Fountain of Youth.
Yeah, the Fountain of Youth. It's a gigantic build. I mean, we're talking millions.
I find that surprising because that felt like it was on. It's on like either CGI or quite a minimal set with like mist in the background obscuring the walls. To find out that was expensive is surprising.
Yeah, I'll send you the link. It's gigantic, Jay. It's a really big set. Yeah, but it's watch it. Just I love Penelope Cruz. I like all the actors, but I'm like, why is Claflin in this? Why is there a mermaid? Like, why is there a mermaid?
There's mermaids plural. That was Nick's take was get rid of the mermaids. Yeah.
I don't really remember much of it.
Yeah, it's very forgettable.
So I just had to watch them all because I wrote a video about how Jack Sparrow's dehydrated, not drunk all the time.
Yep, sure.
And so I had to like watch the fourth one again, and I've retained nothing from it.
Yeah. I mean, the fifth one is better. We're recording that one tomorrow as I'm recording. But the fourth one was Rob Marshall directed it.
Yeah,
he needs to not make films anymore. People should stop letting him make films. I went on about this on that episode. I'm not going to do it again. But...
What else has he directed?
He did Chicago. Chicago's great. He did Memoirs of a Geisha, which I haven't seen, but he did.
You know how expensive his movies are? They built like an entire city, and
he did Nine, the Daniel Day-Lewis musical Nine, terrible. He did Into the Woods, Not great. He did Mary Poppins Returns, which I like, but only because of nostalgia.
Too expensive though.
And he's just done The Little Mermaid this year,
Wildly expensive.
which I have also just watched. Hopefully, we'll do an episode on it on the show at some point. It feels like we should. 'Cause I've not seen
Yeah.
it, but it feels more expensive than again it needed to be. That's a film that doesn't need to exist. We have the Little Mermaid already, but fine.
Yeah, you are 100%. Hey, Javier Bardem. No, he's in the fifth one. He's in the fourth one.
He's in the fifth one.
Oh, the good one.
His wife's in the fourth one.
Yeah. But so all of his movies are too expensive.
Yes.
Like if you look at the behind the scenes videos of Memoirs of a Geisha and the set they build, come on, man, get over yourself. Like that's not necessary. And then you learn that Deep Water could have cost under $1 million to make. Under 1 million. Yeah. And the only reason it was so expensive is because of COVID. It's very annoying. And also, man, this movie was going to cost under $1 million. Like that's incredible. Like that's good filmmaking. That's smart filmmaking. And the production design underwater, like how they made that work, how they're able to get in there, and it looks beautiful. And actually watching the two divers, I mean, maybe they went and cast two good divers in this, or like scuba divers, but they're really efficient with their, what are they called? Not paddles. What's on the feet? Flippers. Like I was watching them with their flippers a couple times, the way they kind of steer around the house. I'm like, man, these people are good. So they I don't know. I dug that. I liked watching them. It's just, I think the production design really is A+ in this movie.
There's a secret underwater cinema. That's cool.
Yeah.
And then like ghosts cut through the screen and come through I mean, they're not ghosts, they're dead people that are alive. I don't know. Zombies. They like cut through the screen and come out. That's a cool sequence. But it's right after a big exposition dump where they have a film set up to explain to you what these ghosts are. Okay, sure. I guess we can have that in this film. It does really relay they didn't have a plot, they just wanted to do underwater haunted house, and this kind of all fell together. But yeah, I can see that. So you don't see this film for the plot. See this film because it's creepy and cool.
85 minutes.
Yeah.
And there's some good music too. There's a cool EDM song that I wrote down the top. I had to stick out my phone and I got the song EDM The Blaze by She. That song's really cool.
Okay.
I like that one a lot.
I only recognized the French song. I can't remember what it was at this point.
Yeah. Don't tell me what to do.
Yes, that one.
Yeah. There's some cool songs. I like that the drone is named Tom, as in like Peeping Tom. Yeah. They sunk a house. They built it on stages. They dropped it in. They filmed it. It just, I don't know. It makes me happy. It's like, why not? Like, do you know what I think it is? I'm very forgiving when people try something new. Like the new Little Mermaid. Like I think the lead is good. I think there are some solid moments. I had a couple laughs, but they're not trying anything. They're not trying anything new. Nothing new.
I've never seen a rapping seagull before.
Oh, scuttlebutt. That's a scuttlebutt. But you have, it's better than Steven Seagal from The Shallows. But
is it?
I don't know why it just doesn't do much. This movie, anybody in their right mind would have funded this. I'm telling you, every studio on the planet, if you go underwater haunted house, under $1 million, go. Like that's fun and it's tough. And I don't know, I applaud movies like this, even though the plot is hokum.
This kind of fits in with like Crawl, a film we adore. It's like it's a low budget, it's a simple premise, but they execute it well. Crawl is better than Deep House.
I mean, these French directors, what they can do with limited budgets, like Crawl. So I thought Crawl was maybe like a $40 million budget. When I learned it was like 13, my jaw dropped. I got envious of Alejandro Aja, and I don't get jealous. I think jealousy is stupid. But I went, you shot that for that? Like that's really admirable.
With Kaya Scodelario from Pirates 5?
Yeah. You know how Exploding Helicopter does a Hall of Fame for people?
Yes.
We should start doing like, I'll ask him first to get permission, but we could maybe Just be like, we're talking about our second waterlog movie
Yeah.
with Kaya Scodelario.
Director wise, Jim Cameron's up there for
Oh yeah,
lots of deep blue films.
Abyss, Avatars, True Lies has some good water
Titanic,
gags in
Titanic.
it. I
You know
don't forget
that
that.
one.
T2, it's liquid metal.
Sure, that's as Piranha, the spawning as
Yep,
well.
Piranha the
Uh,
Spawning. That one works. Yeah, yeah. I mean, they go to the Keys. Don't they go to the Keys in True Lies? Isn't that what it is? Yeah, like
I don't
they're way
remember
out
True
there.
Lies.
Jamie
True
Lee
Lies,
Curtis puts some water in her hair when she's dancing.
True Lies is the Cameron film I know the least. So,
There's a snowmobile chase scene, and we all know what snow is.
sure, it's just hard water.
Why has there never been a movie called Hard Water where like it comes
There's
out the
hard rain.
taps? Yeah, it comes out the taps and it's just really hard and it like infests people. Like when people wash their hands, it's so hard it gets in their brains and like, don't wash your hands. That's the
Yeah,
movie.
we
And then
need
like
this
you cut
hard
to a little
water.
girl washing her hands and you're like, no, and she becomes a zombie. Hard water.
Yeah, and there's soft water where your hair just fluffs out when you have a shower.
No, I mean that's a nightmare for some people.
Yeah.
But they said like they used like mashed Brussels sprouts for the water. They wanted the picture to be beautiful as well as nightmarish. And you know what? I'll say it. Some like the production design and filming is beautiful. I really do. I think for $1 million, let's put it. This isn't Abyss money, right? Like they spent that on marbles. Like the budget of this movie was spent on marbles to cover the top of the Abyss nuclear power plant that they filmed in. But like
And one of the rats.
For the money, it looks great. And I know I keep saying it. I know it's based on like one idea, but I don't know. I really admire this movie. I don't think I could give it like 4 out of 5 stars. Like I think max probably 3 out of 5 because there's absolutely no story.
Yeah.
But I still love it.
Yeah, and I agree about the production design and like when they open the box and all these snow globes just kind of tumble out and they're underwater. That's a cool shot. It all looks
Yeah.
it looks really cool. And just think about the budget. Like they did all that for this for so little. Yeah, and then it made very little as well. It didn't make a lot.
I mean, yeah. Which I mean, this wouldn't have sold in theaters because the problem there's no plot to it. That's the problem. Like this, they never could have released this in movie theaters. This had to have been a streaming release. I think if I was watching it and I was like Jason Blum or any of the people, I would be very satisfied with it. But I was like, I can't put this anywhere near theaters. I think just like I love you guys. This could have been $1 million. It ballooned because of COVID. We're all good. Great work. I now have an underwater haunted house movie. So it's shoot. I don't care. I love it. I know I keep saying the same thing over and over again, but this is not a very deep movie.
Do you want to know how deep it is?
Yeah, how deep is it?
Well, before that, how is it similar to Deep Blue Sea?
Uh-oh.
A character pees. We introduced Jim peeing into the wind. We basically introduced to Tina peeing on camera. People film themselves. There is a kind of skeevy looking at ladies character called Tom. Tom Scoggins, peeping Tom, calls Jen as a healthy girl. They go wreck diving. There are stairs underwater. They talk about God and Christianity. They have difficulty opening doors underwater. There's a flooded kitchen with a crucifix in it. There are dead bodies underwater. They struggle to get out of a flooded building.
Kitchen with a crucifix. Did you high five yourself when you did that?
Always, constantly. They climb a chimney and there's vertical swimming. So I mean, it's mainly just hey, they're underwater. is the similarities between this and Deep Blue Sea. And I did notice the big crucifix that has the Jesus on it. When they take it off the wall, his eyes are shut, and they throw it down. Cut to it later, his eyes are open.
Oh,
creepy crucifix Jesus. Even creepier than
that sounds like a Rob Zombie song.
Creepy crucifix Jesus. I don't know what Rob Zombie music sounds like. I'm going to guess like that. He's from the 50s, right?
Sound like Richard Cheese right there.
Yeah, sure.
I like it.
So How deep and how blue is the deep house? So deep blue sea is, of course, 14.5 meters deep. 31% blue. Mark, do you think the deep house is deeper and or bluer on average than deep blue sea?
Oh yeah, way.
Or both?
Oh yeah, it's deeper and bluer.
It is deeper. It is not bluer.
Really? Because
Yeah,
it's clear water?
it's quite blue when they're outside of the house. When they're inside the house, it's murky as anything. It's grey. It has some
Oh.
green in there, but you can hardly see anything. So, blueness wise, it is 19.74% blue, which means it is bluer than Pirates of the Caribbean: Curse of the Black Pearl. Well, that's blue in Mindhunters, surprisingly. Depth, that's the word. It is on average 22.5 meters deep. So what's that, about 60, 68? So feet, somewhere in that region? Where's he gone? At 73.7 feet deep. So that means it's up there in the depthness. It is our 12th deepest film. It is
Wow.
deeper than Deep Blue Sea 2. Less deep than Ice Sharks. Because the Ice Sharks are going to the bottom of the sea at some one point. Whereas
Oh, so that's way under there.
it's only for a short amount of time, but they're down there for a while. But the deep house, they basically go down. They say at one point that they stop at 10 meters on the way down to the house, and then they're just over 30 meters deep for the main majority of the house, and they're there for the film, basically. So very easy to work out how deep this film was because they just tell me. They just left it there. So thank you, filmmakers, for that. But yeah, Deep House. I don't know where you can watch it. It's not available in the UK anywhere at the moment.
Yeah, I bought it for $5. It's on Plex in the United States.
Okay.
So yeah.
It was on Netflix for like a month and a half. And I was like, oh, great, Deep House. And then the next time I checked, Deep House leaving this Friday. It's like, for God's sake, it's just come on it. So it'll come back up, I'm sure. But yeah, that's the Deep House. Mark, you got any plugs?
Well, hey, do you want to do the underwater draft real quick?
Oh, sure, yes. I didn't know if we had.
Yeah. So
Yeah.
let's each do. What do you think? Let's do. We'll do 5 movies each, but we'll do it quick.
Films where they have to hold their breath.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
I'm gonna start us off, right?
Sure.
I'm gonna do Lady in the Water.
How dare you? That was on my list.
I feel really great, and Lisa Leahy and I did an episode about it, and yeah, there's a scene where Paul Giamatti goes Paul Giascuba, no Paul Gia freedive,
sure,
and he finds a really industrious way to get some air. So I'm gonna do that.
I feel like.
What are you gonna do?
How you feel about what's the M. Night Shyamalan film you love? I can't remember.
Unbreakable?
No, the one with
all of them.
Mark.
The Happening.
Yes. How you feel about The Happening is how I feel about Lady in the Water. I think that film was great.
Yeah, I love it. You'll love our episode. We both stick up for it. We love that movie.
I'm looking forward to it. I'm looking forward to eventually covering it on this show as well. Because water's in the title. So I have to take Daylight. There's a scene where they hold their breath under in a tunnel. It's an homage to another scene I might pick as well, but I have to take Daylight.
I almost thought about picking that to annoy you, but I'm not that mean. I'm gonna go for another M. Night movie and take Old.
That's the one I haven't seen.
Oh, you gotta watch it, Jay. Oh, you gotta watch it.
With water stuff, so we could do it on here at some point. I just haven't seen it yet, so we will.
You gotta watch it.
Okay. So I will then take one that you've watched recently. I'm gonna take Saw 6.
Ooh,
that's
a great one.
It's not underwater, but it's holding their breath because they're up. It's the two guys that are up on the chains and they got the thing on their chest. And they got it's the 6th one, right? Yeah. Where they got it's him and the janitor or the custodial guy, and they can't take a deep breath. Like Saw 6, surprisingly good entry in the Saw franchise.
Yeah, I love
being
that.
A good one.
I've been watching that. I just had to watch that because I had to redo my how good are Saw movies when a Saw is involved article.
Sure.
And yeah, I had to add I had to re-up that, and I watched Saw 6 again. Every time I watch it, I'm like, I like this movie.
Yeah,
I like Saw 6.
It's all the playground equipment, because it's like all the guys strapped to the roundabout thing, and then there's, that the acid at the end in the syringes. It comes down and cuts them in half.
That's gnarly.
Yeah.
All right, I've lost my mind here, Jay. I'm gonna go with Unbreakable because the scene where Bruce Willis falls into the water and almost drowns.
Yeah, makes sense.
But no, he doesn't hold his breath for a long period of time. I'm getting rid of that one.
Okay.
I'm gonna take in Mindhunters when they're underwater shooting at each other. Are they underwater for a long period of time? Do you think?
Uh, all I can think
Is
about
it?
is when she like has a cigarette and falls in the water.
Oh, okay, I won't do that. Oh, nice. There's so many good ones. Oh, Laura Croft Tomb Raider, Cradle of Life. She punches a
Sure.
shark in the face
I knew you'd take that one.
while underwater.
Yeah, of course.
I have a
Uh,
very long list, and it's
yeah,
annoying. But she punches. We can we just dedicate an episode to that scene?
absolutely. I need to watch that. I haven't seen that film, but I will watch that film in preparation for that scene.
Oh
Uh,
man, she's the best.
it's on the list. I'm going to take Kingsman as the water
Oh,
test.
oh
I've just
yeah.
watched Eggsy in Blackbird. If you watched that on
I
Apple,
need to watch Paul Walter Hauser.
yeah, he's fantastic in it. He's trippy as anything. He should be a villain in an underwater film. Uh, but yeah, when there's that test and the whole room floods and they gotta save everyone and the tubes going under the showers and the toilets, it's a great scene. Yeah,
Oh, that's that was a great trailer moment because everyone took off their shirts. Someone was like swimming and looking jacked.
yeah,
Remember
it
that?
was.
Like that was in
Yeah.
the trailers everywhere.
If
I'm
you
gonna
want to
take
see,
San
if you want him to be
Andreas.
jacked, I can't remember his bloody name. The guy who plays Eggsy.
Yeah, Taron Egerton.
Yes, he is jacked in Blackbird. My God.
I like him a lot.
Yeah, he's great.
San
I
Andreas.
saw Hugh Jackman performing live once, and he was there, and they did a song together.
Ooh,
Yeah, uh, San Andreas. Sorry.
you saw them perform live together?
Yes, because they know each other from uh, Eddie the Eagle. Eddie the
Oh
Eagle. So
yeah.
they did. Oh God, what song did they did? Something from I want to say from Rocket Man, I think. Uh, like Matthew
Amazing.
Vaughn was there as well. It was weird, but it was a great show. Anyway, you picked San Andreas. What's
Hmm.
the water scene in San Andreas?
When Daddario's drowning and the Rock has to save her, and there's that
Yes,
she's with that English guy who's kind of like a total. He's like the type of wet noodle that you throw at a wall and doesn't stick. Like
sure.
remember that? Yeah, but it's a good water scene.
Okay. I'm going to take Mission Impossible Rogue Nation. They
Yep,
have the
great
underwater
one.
donut thing, and they're going around, and Tom Cruise has got to hold his breath for an hour, and he does. Yeah, excellent scene.
Oh, yeah, for about an hour. And yeah, I think you're right. I think he does do that for about an hour. You know what? Is
Not a
Constantine
human.
cheating? Because remember how he holds her underwater and then he has her breathing and then she
Never
looks up
seen
at
it.
him and she's like, oh my gosh, so good. All right, I'm going to take Constantine
Okay.
because that's a great scene.
So I will then take. I'm not like Daylight is an homage to Poseidon Adventure, so I'm not going to take Poseidon Adventure. I'll take the Prestige. When
Oh,
she's drowning in the tank at the start, and then all of the
that's a
bits
really
where Hugh
good one.
Jackman's drowning in the tanks later on. Loads of drowning in tanks in that film.
Oh, yeah, maybe I could still pick that because, you know, there's two people.
You could
So you
steal it
took,
from me, like the Prestige.
all right. Oh my gosh. All right. So we got to go.
That's it. That's five. That's
I picked five.
yeah. Lady in the Water, Old, Lara Croft 2, San Andreas, Constantine.
Oh, and you picked your five?
Yep. Daylight,
When I
Saw
talk
6,
about water,
Kingsman,
Jay, I get too excited.
Rogue Nation, Prestige.
Time flies.
Time flies when you're drowning.
Yeah. Well, this is lovely, man. And also, I don't know if you've read it yet, but I made sure to reference Mindhunters in my John Wick kill count ranking. I talked about the underwater gunfight.
Still haven't seen John Wick 4, but as soon as I do, I will read that episode, that article.
Awesome. Yeah. Major
So-
spoilers in there.
Where that's on, where can people read that?
It is Mark Hoffman, The Ringer. You can find it.
The Ringer. Oh,
And I got a new one coming out, too, about horror movies. So that'll come out next week, the time this episode's released.
awesome. So listeners, you can find this podcast all over social media at Deep Blue Sea Pod, or email us deepblueseapod@gmail.com for any suggestions or complaints or things you want us to do differently. Just let us know. And so that'll do it for the Deep House. Next week should be Jim Cameron again, Avatar Way of Water. Should be next week's episode. Finally going to cover it. I am, as you predicted, going insane trying to look at how deep and blue everything in that film is. It's not going well. I'm going to do it, but it's not going well. It's not
Just
going to
muttering to yourself.
It's not going to end up being very deep because they're in space for all, so it doesn't matter. But still, it's drove me insane. That'll do it for the Deep House. Thank you for listening. I've been Jake Lewis.
And I'm Mark Hoffman. Real quick, though, So
sure.
right now, Jay, I just want to let everyone know on iTunes, we're in the top 15 in these countries: Canada, Taiwan, Nigeria, Ghana, Uzbekistan. So thank you to everyone who listens to us.
Yeah,
Everyone
thank
who
you.
listens everywhere. But it's cool. Like we got a really awesome worldwide audience, Jay, that are listening to our show.
That's cool. And we will Deep Blue see you all next week.
Sayonara.